Hi there. Today I'll be doing a product tour of the Fortran Webdocs Forms Management Solution. This video will focus on workflow creation along with things to think about when creating workflows. What I'll be covering today again, here a little bit more in detail, I'll be covering kinds of workflows and some different samples that I have, creating a workflow from scratch, elements you can have inside of a workflow, and then also workflow preconditions and business rules. First of all, before I get to the live demonstration, I want to cover some of the different capabilities inside the system of having workflows. There is two different kinds of workflows that is part of the Webdocs Forms Management solution. And the first one is forms workflow capabilities. So as you're filling out data and you're requesting people to enter in information into the form, you can have that form go through a process, which we'll be covering today, and how you can set that up. But that process could be to fill out a certain section, to fill out certain information a certain way, and then after that form is completed and goes through the full approval process, it might go into a secondary workflow into the repository, where it's a finished document, and it might even have some retention policy on it. So in this example here, this is a contract kind of process here, where a contract is being processed through the system in the form side of things, and then after it's completed, a PDF is created of it, and then into the repository for its retention period, and even through a review process inside of the system. There could be a renewal process that actually happens after the retention is hit, so we can actually push that document into someone's workflow in basket to be notified of something that needs to be done after a certain amount of time. All right, now I'm going to move on to how do I create workflows and sort of those different topics that we were talking about, right? With the system, again, just like creating a form, workflows are created inside the system, right? So inside the web interface, you can log in with your user ID and password, and you can get access to your different projects, and the projects might be forms and workflows inside of them. So I'm going to scroll down here until I get to my demo forms here in workflows, and you're going to see inside of here I have forms that I have, and think of a single form as a single step workflow in this case, right? And then you can add different people or different tasks that might need to be done, and it might have sections on a form. So one of the things inside of a form is you can have security on sections. So when you create a form, things to think about is who needs to fill that out? Does everyone need to see everything inside that form? And you can set up different workflows to expose some of those different areas during the process. This first one here, I am actually going to use this advanced PO approval process, so you can sort of see this, some of the other things that you can do with the system, not just normal steps, but you might want to do preconditions or something like that in the process. So in a workflow like this, the first thing there is there's a form attached to it, right? So you're creating a form that needs to be filled out. And again, sections inside the form can have security on it as well. So at different steps that you're passing it to, they might see stuff or they might not see things inside of it, depending on the flow of the data and how it needs to come back to you. But the big thing with this process is the workflow. Is how does this form in this case go through the process, collect documents, collect data at the different steps, and not having to burden everyone every single time as well. So some of these might be preconditions inside the form, like you see here. If it's more than 500, then it might need to go. If that's a no, then it just skips a step. If it's a yes, then it might need to have first level director approval. And then from there, it might have more than 10,000, and it can go through that process, either a yes, no kind of a query here, and go through that process. But each of these steps here, you can actually click on each of these different steps and assign users to them or groups. You can put messages on each of these steps. You can set up rejection. You can set up escalation points. Escalations are really nice because escalations are to move things along in the appropriate amount of time. Meaning that if something is not met, so if it's not performed within a certain amount of days, hours, and minutes, right, or whatever you set up inside of here, we can then take actions on it, send notifications out, reminders, or inside that escalation, we might even want to move that to another person if it's not performed within that amount of time. So we have all those different kinds of capabilities, and that can be at the step level. So at each of these different steps, you might have different actions or different notifications or messages that you might want to show people, or have different time limits on things as well. So you can have those different kinds of structures. And each of these kinds of processes, if you watch the forms, if you're creating forms videos, the forms do have, the workflows do have workflow capability as well, or a business rule capability as well. So like preconditions, so I can actually put preconditions in here and edit those preconditions inside of here to say, hey, if it's more than this or less than this, and then there's logic on in what order those need to be in. So it's sort of a normal, sort of a relative knowledge for this logic, the logical expression inside of here. So it's really easy and really quick to be able to pick up on some of this stuff here, to be able to do the form stuff. Now, not all forms have to be have to have logic in it like that, right? So you could have a form in this process that might be not I'll say not a complex set of workflow requirements, right? So it might just be step to step to step, or it even might be an internal external kind of workflow, right? There might not be any preconditioned logic inside of there, but there might be an internal external kind of process that you might want to flow it through. So we can do different kinds of things like that. So here's this, I'll use this one down here, is this contract review process, internal, external in this scenario. And in this scenario here, you see that there's this internal, it gets initiated internally, right? Gets sent out via email to the vendor. So they actually will get a link to it, through their email. And then after they're completed, it will then go back in for internal review kind of process. And then after that process has been accepted or denied inside of there, rejected, it can then, so if it was accepted, it can then send an email with the final contract to the vendor, but also save a copy into the internal document management system inside the system that's built into the application itself. So all that stuff can just happen automatically from a workflow standpoint. So that's a pretty simple, internal, external kind of process that you can sort of flow through. Now, again, workflows don't need to be complex. That's a very simple internal, external kind of flow process. It could be an expense approval process that might have conditions into it as well. So it might be an expense, submission from a sales rep or from an employee. Then it goes to their manager, and dependent on the information that we receive here, does it need CFO review or not? Dependent on some kind of value or even some kind of item that you might be purchasing. So you do have that capability there to be able to set those workflows up. And again, all these workflows are configurable to your business, and they are customizable to your different processes. So the nice thing about that, when we train people on these different processes and creating them, we want to make sure you can build on them, change them, and do different things with them as time goes on. So you have that capability inside the solution to be able to make any kind of modifications if you need to inside those workflows. So it's a very, very powerful piece to that. Now, workflows, when accessing those workflows, right, you're logging into the system, you can get an email notification. So if you're part of one of those workflows, and then each user that inside the system, when they log in, if they're part of a workflow, they do have their own My Task inbox. The My Task inbox gives them capability to review the form and do things with the form that the business wants them to do. Like in this case here, it's in my step here, so I need to actually confirm these different areas and sign this information. and put some of this pay grade and performance review date kind of information in here. So this is a section of the form I need to fill in for this process to be completed. So I can actually send this to the be completed, or I can actually reject it in this case during this process. So that's sort of the form inbox, and an inbox would have all the different tasks and stuff inside of there, and for you to be able to do your approvals on. All right, I just want to thank everyone for watching this video. If you have any questions on building workflows or building forms or anything around the forms management solution, on compliance and regulatory issues you might have and be able to enforce, please feel free to reach out to us at any time for a live demonstration and or consultation. Thank you.